Welcome back. Sidebar returns this week after having a week off last week. So we'll be covering an extra week of trios games. And returning this week, we've got Reverb back. Welcome.
I have finally decided to grace THL's Twitch channel with my wonderful crabby face. It is fantastic to be back.
Good to have you back. And the man that's been leading the way in Reverb's absence, Oddlaw. Welcome.
Hello, hello, hello. It's great to have Reverb back. Obviously, he had to pick up a lot of slack since he was gone, so it's good to have the core trio back to make our way through.
That's right. He's been making up for it by winning his pro matches. So
It's true.
All my effort has been put into that.
we can all be grateful for that. All right. So yeah, we'll be covering 2 weeks of trios this week. We will also be covering Wild Round 2. So trios round 2 and 3, Wild Round 2. Wild will now be a round behind for the rest of the season. So that won't be confusing at all. But yeah, so trios, 2 weeks to cover. We are going to jump straight in to trios feature lineup. Who have I got covering this? I think Oddlaw will lead off with you. If you want to take us through our feature lineup for, I've pulled this one from week 3, the week just gone.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've got the W Gang and Easy. So big claims on both team names, and also big claims on the decks. And we had who ended up taking that one? Do you have that, Masha?
The W Gang
the
had
W Gang
a
took the
3-2
W.
a 3-2 win over Easy with this line.
Yeah. So we had Easy bringing Outcast EH, FFF Undead Death Knight. I have not seen Frost Death Knight played that much recently, so that's interesting. Treant Druid and Oathbreaker Paladin, which I'm assuming is it's not pure, it's some kind of token paladin. Very interesting list. And then W Gang, they brought Control Warlock, Spell DH, Blood Death Knight, and Odin Warrior. So very interesting bring from both sides. I think it looks like
I think Warrior was banned here, but the
Warrior was banned.
I haven't seen a
That
lot
makes
of
sense.
I haven't seen a lot of Spell Demon Hunter, so
No, we Reverb and I have a lot of thoughts on Spell TH. I don't think it's the greatest bring, but if it gets the win, it gets the win, you know. I think it looks like it was kind of an aggro lineup versus a control lineup for the most part. Pretty interesting decks on both sides actually, and looks like it was a close series as well, which makes a lot of sense.
yeah. Reverb, what do you think about Spell Demon Hunter? Let's get your take. Are you a fan?
It's definitely a deck that if you play it and you are well versed in it, I can see it's like a pet deck. From the outside, I'm never gonna play Spell DH. I got no clue what it does. I don't know how to win with that deck. That's confusing. It's really easy for me to play Warlock and play the funny Sargeras man on 9 and win the game. So if it works, it works. It works for W Gang. But I much prefer the Warlock deck. I love Control Warlock. Symphony of Sins is a crazy card. I'm so glad I didn't dust it when I got it golden on day 1 of that expansion, because I was very upset when I got it because the card was garbage on release.
Yeah, it's kind of a good card. Like draw Sargeras, play it early. That's a
Kind of a
good
good
one.
card.
It's kind
Yeah.
of
All they had to
handy.
do was release a big boss guy that wins you the game and reduce its mana by 1. So after those small, minute detail changes, the card's good now, and I can live happily with my golden one.
Yeah, it's there's nothing wrong with the card. It's the cards that come after it that's the problem. I've heard that one before.
Expensive lineup from the W Gang.
It is
I was
an
just
expensive
noticing.
one.
There are a lot of legendaries.
There's a lot of legendaries.
Epics
in
and
there.
legendaries everywhere. These guys are borderline pay to win, but they got the win, so I guess it was worth it.
Yeah,
They
Warriors,
in fact paid
Warriors
to
over
win.
there. Warriors over there is the free to play over on the
Yeah.
over on the far
What
right.
world have we come to where the control warrior is no longer the wallet
Are we
deck?
sure this isn't a wild deck? A wild, it looks like a wild lineup actually with all the
It's just
legendaries in
Reno
there.
decks, but it's not Reno decks.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. But yeah, then there aren't that many legendaries in standard. Let's be honest, we're only on the fifth set, so um,
Yeah. So they're hoping for some more legendaries so they can shove them into their decks and put more money into their decks to
yeah,
intimidate their opponents mainly.
yeah. We do have Prison of Yogg-Saron in two of those decks, so
Ah,
you know
true.
if you are
Three
behind, you can
legendaries.
always YOLO and just praise Yogg and win. So
You, looking at the legendaries very briefly, I've just noticed Ignis is in all four decks.
Yeah, that's
it's
pretty alpha.
it's
I
a
like
good
that.
card.
I do like Ignis. He is
I hope
good.
they're crafting 10 cost weapons every time with that because that would be optimal.
Yeah. Yep. All right. So this is the feature lineup. Now we're going to go into a couple of matches. From first one from week 2, second one from week 3. So the first one from week 2, I'll just bring it up here. So I've redacted a little bit of information here. What we're going to do is something a little bit different. Reverb, you can be Swagoi, and Oddlaw, you can be the W gang. So Reverb, this is what you've brought. This is what your opponent brought. This is some stats. So I've just put up legend stats from the last 7 days. This should be roughly going back to when. Well, it's not going to be 100% accurate, and stats are sort of just a guide anyway. But this is a rough lineup matchup spread. So as Swagoi, what are you looking at banning, and what would you expect your opponent to ban?
I'm reckoning. I feel like W Gang is probably banning my control warrior. I feel like that is my deck that is gonna have the better matchups. Um, I don't know if Sugoi would want to ban Control Warrior themselves or Arcane Hunter. It's fairly even. Personally, I hate playing mirrors. So if they ban my Control Warrior, I ban their Arcane Hunter so there are no mirrors. Um, but I think banning Control Warrior or Arcane Hunter would be fine here. I don't think either one. I don't think the choice either choice gives you much of an advantage because I feel like Sugoi's Control Warrior is clearly the better deck, and so it wouldn't really matter what you ban.
Yeah. Also remember this is from week 2, so um,
Oh, nerfed Arcane Hunter.
this is yeah. Um, what about you, Oddlaw? Are you thinking the same thing from the other side there? So you obviously,
Jesus.
yep.
I mean, it's looking pretty rough if you're W gang already, right? You have pretty much unfavorables across the board. I think you wanna you wanna leave up Curse Warlock because it looks like you can maybe scam wins. Maybe. I would probably be along the similar lines, ban Control Warrior. I mean, knowing what we know now, Control Warrior is like such an auto ban in the last couple of last week or so. Like everyone's just been playing it and realizing how oppressive of a win con Odin is, as well as how oppressively it can control the board. So I think the smartest ban is probably Control Warrior for both sides. Um, Depending on the lead matchups, like you could sneak through that. What do you really want to play against Control Warrior other than your own Control Warrior as W gang? That's what I'm thinking. Like it's pretty doomed.
Alrighty. So Goy banned the hunter, and the control warrior was the ban, obviously, by for the W gang. So the control warrior along the top line there, going across, got banned, and the hunter going down, which makes sense. That's sort of what Reverb was covering off. I could see a control warrior ban as well, but probably might leave Curse Warlock a bit thin into
Yeah,
the rogue and the hunter. So I think bans were as expected there. And then, yeah, how would you think the match plays out from here? So, as Swagoi, Reverb, how are you leading out here? So, you don't have your control warrior, and they don't have their hunter.
Yeah, it's not
Because there's a
it's
lot of
not
even matchups there. There's probably only one like
yeah,
really
it's
green matchup,
quite
which is
even.
Warlock into Outcast.
The yeah, that's the main thing I'd be thinking. Like I don't want to queue Arcane and then they put out DH and they sneak the win through and then it gets hard to get Curse through. But I also don't want to just queue Curse until their Demon Hunter comes out. Because if I'm down 2 games already, they bring out Demon Hunter. Yeah, I get the win with Curse, but I'm likely to lose the other two. Um, maybe you just lead Hunter. I think just lead Hunter and pray they don't lead Demon Hunter.
What,
Otherwise, you could just open with Curse. That wouldn't be the worst.
so
It's
Hunter maybe Curse because you've got only that one bad matchup into
yeah.
Necro.
The others are fairly even.
What about you, Odlaw? What are you leading out as
Well,
the W game?
you know what? I actually think low key, if you lead Mech Rogue, you can kind of scam Mech Rogue through at the start because it, even in bad matchups, can randomly win. In good matchups, it's disgusting. And, so say you're against Rainbow Mage, say they lead Rainbow Mage or Hunter, and you play Mech Rogue and you get an early start as Mech Rogue and, the Secret Hunter can't get ahead. I think that would be nice. And then once that's through, you basically just use your 2 aggro decks to you ignore Curse Warlock because that's gonna probably. I mean, you can hope that you get the Secret Hunter Curse Warlock matchup, but ideally, I think you're just targeting that mage. And then Outcast DH is kind of similar to Mech Rogue in that it can kind of sneak through even in unfavored.
Yep.
So I think it's something like lead Mech Rogue or Outcast DH, doesn't really matter. Either of those, try and sneak him through. Hope that you don't. Hope that your opponent doesn't sneak their Curse Warlock through. But if it does, it's not the end of the world. And you're basically just trying to abuse that Rainbow Mage, maybe win a Secret Hunter mirror, something like. Oh wait, your Secret Hunter's banned.
Yep. So you're
Oh,
Control Warrior, you've got Mech Rogue, you've got Outcast.
you know what? I just completely thought we were double banning Control Warrior. Even though I saw it on screen. Yeah, Control Area, I think, is a similar situation actually because it's feels pretty good into Rainbow Mage, can do decently into Secret Hunter, probably lose to Curse Warlock. So I think it's the same strategy. Lead Mech Rogue or Outcast DH, and then leave Control Warrior in the back to kind of clean up. And yeah, if you get a guaranteed matchup into Mage, then you're doing all right. I think for the most part.
Yeah, I think as Reverb said, I think you're probably not expecting a mage lead out, so either Control Warrior or one of the others. If you're looking at if it's not going to be mage, you got like a good and a bad or sort of matchup for Rogue and
Yeah.
DH. But
Demon Hunter. No
anyway,
mage.
let's have a look at what did happen. So they led out with mage, got the good matchup into Rogue and lost. Leaving 3 bad matchups. Then Hunter went down to the Demon Hunter, so they found the bad matchup there.
They reverse swept
And
the
then reverse
Control
swept
Warrior.
the Control Warrior. So Curse Warlock beat the Control Warrior, then the Hunter beat the Control Warrior,
The
and then
rainbow one is the surprising one in game
the
5.
Mage gets the game 5 with a 40%.
I've done that though. To be fair, Rainbow Mage has that like capability. If you get a good hand, you can really build
Yeah,
like 50, 60 damage from hand.
you definitely have to scam it.
Yeah, definitely. That's hot take. I think that's user error on the Control Warrior to lose 3 in a row like that. That's what I think's happened there, because there's no way. That's
It can
insane.
happen.
Otherwise,
You
I,
can see
I guess
I, are you saying that my 3-0 in pro on the weekend when I beat Control Warrior 3 games in a row was user error by my opponent and not my skill? It
Um,
probably was. Let's be
let's
honest.
just say if there was a GM playing the control area, I don't think it would have gone this way.
Yeah, you're right there. All
Yeah,
right.
the
Well,
Curse Warlock matchup is really tight with Control Warrior.
yeah.
I think all the matchups are tight with controller. It's insane that they swept like that.
I think there's a lot of games there that probably could have gone either way. I think that maybe the Hunter into the Demon Hunter was probably the only one where it looked really dire. But
Yeah.
to get the 40% for in game five, you'd have to be happy with that as we're going.
Yeah, you'd be popping off, man.
All right, we'll move on to the week three matchup next. We'll switch roles this time. Oddlaw, you can go first. You'll be the one amalgam band, and Reverb, you're on the big three. So, Oddlaw.
Oh, okay. Let's see. So we've got two aggressive-ish decks and two control decks. And we're against kind of a similar situation. I think.
Talk us through it.
Well, your Naga Mage is gonna beat everything, in theory. Played to perfection. Naga Mage is excellent.
Ignore the. It's just bad players. It's not. Ignore the percentages.
Don't worry about the players. Don't worry about the percentages. Naga Mage will beat anything. I think you don't actually want to see Drum Druid here. Yeah, because like priest is priest, priest that can lose to itself. Drum Druid can scam every single one of the decks we're looking at here. Mech can obviously destroy Drum Druid, but the rest of the decks, if you get a bad hand and then Drum Druid just pops off, like it's over. So I would actually be looking at a Drum Druid ban and then hoping to kind of prey on the priest and maybe the rogue if you get like some good control situations going. That would be my angle.
Which of your decks did you think that they would ban?
I think you would probably look at banning the mage or the mech rogue. Yeah. Yeah, if I were them, I would be banning the mech rogue and then like using drum druid. That would be my game plan.
The Mech Rogue's got two, like, you've got 40% there. Would they just ban the Control Warrior?
Yeah, but if we just ban controller every time, what like
Yeah.
come on, man.
Reverb, you're the big three. What are you banning? What are you expecting to see banned?
Is it?
Yours are going
is it the
down.
Drum Druid that has?
Drum Druid's got one bad
Is
matchup
it the
in
one
Mech
with?
Rogue.
But is it the one with Tapir or is it like the?
Good point.
Yeah, that's important.
Is it the list with the smaller dudes?
Let's just hang on trios. Let's bring it up. Week 3. Surely they would bring the good list with the top Yor in it.
I actually, it depends. The matchups are a little different.
Okay, it's got top Yor. Yeah, no one drop with the death rattle and no summon 2/5/5. So it's just the top Yor list.
It's the top your list.
Yeah. With an Astal on
cool,
it. That's the exact 30 that I
think that list does better into the slower things. Yeah. The Naga, it might be Naga Mage, purely because of skill. Like, if you know the Control Warrior matchup, Control Warrior and Control Warlock matchup, I feel like my Mech Rogue can definitely scam it. The Control Warrior one is close, even though it says the Warlock is favored into the Warrior. I've been watching streams of like what's that guy? No Hands. No
Hmm.
Hands was talking a lot about Control Warlock versus Warrior, and how Warlock was kind of favored at the start, but Warriors have started to figure out how to kind of play it and to stem the bleeding of an early like Symphony of Sins. So it might be the Naga Mage, because even though there's a lot of red, that is because bad people play the deck.
100%.
All right, let's take a look. What have we got here? We got Control Priest ban
Control Priest ban.
and a
I
Control Warrior
think
ban. So Control
it's very
Warrior
interesting.
across the top there, and Control
Yeah.
Priest going down. So left themselves with the 3 red ones from Naga Mage, but as you said, they probably backed themselves to play the deck well. Probably in their own testing, they would have their percentages quite a bit higher than that if they're a skilled Naga Mage player. Didn't want to see Priest, had the good matchups into Rogue and Control Warlock. Probably looking at the Mech Rogue, like when I looked at it, I thought, oh, well, I don't want to leave Mech Rogue with Control Warrior, Control Priest. So I'm probably banning one of Priest or Warrior. And then do you want to then give Control Warlock an extra good matchup or Naga Mage? And if you're confident on Naga Mage, you probably just want to give Control Warlock 2 good matchups. Then that might be what they were thinking with the Control Priest ban. But that's sort of where I went with my thinking, having seen the ban.
Might also just be like a hate ban. Like a lot of people don't want to play against Priest, you know. It's it's a
Unfun.
really boring, really long, like especially if you're playing a series and you have to play against Priest multiple times, like the game's gonna go a really long time and you can get fatigued and stuff, which is like a factor.
All right, so with those bans, Priest down and the Control Warrior across, Oddlaw as the 1 hour amalgam band, where are you leading off? You're leading off with your Rogue, with your Warlock, with your Mage.
So here's the thing, right? You got Mech Rogue Mirror as an option. You got Drum Druid, which is an incredible matchup for Mech Rogue, or you got Control Warrior, which I think you don't. It's not unwinnable as Mech Rogue. So I think you lead Mech Rogue, hope they don't lead Control Warrior. If they do, then you're basically just trying to sweep Drum Druid and Mech Rogue with 3 decks that definitely can do it. Um, and so yeah, I think definitely the Mech Rogue League lead, and then uh, basically trying to prey on their Drum Druid and then their Mech Rogue.
All right, Reverb, back the other way. What are we leading?
Uh, I'm gonna crush the Mech Rogue lead Dreams and lead Control Warrior because I think it can beat the Rogue and the Warlock. Naga Mage, I personally don't play the deck, so I don't know how the matchups go, but I know it's crazy good if you're good in it. So I guess it's almost like a gamble. Like I would lead Control Warrior because I know I can beat the Rogue. I'm fairly sure if I know the matchup well, I can beat the Warlock. And then at some point, I'm probably going to lose to Naga Mage. Whether it's this game, whether it's another game, don't know. Fingers crossed. Just hit and hope kind of thing with the Mage. Um, after leading Warrior, I don't know from there. You can be a bit sneaky. There are sometimes little tricks you can do with Qs, uh, based on what your opponent queued in the game prior. There's kind of some math behind what they will or will not queue next, but I definitely think it's Control Warrior lead.
All right, let's take a look. So we led out with Naga Mage. We
Into Control Warrior.
found the Control Warrior and got the win, the 45 percenter. Then Mech Rogue Mirror. So we lost the Mech Rogue Mirror.
Wow.
Stayed on Mech Rogue. So once that was out, so if you look at the percentage there, so Naga Mage is gone, Mech Rogue coming down's gone. So you've either got Mech Rogue into Control Warrior or Mech Rogue into Drum Druid, and they're quite opposite. And then you've also got Control Warlock into Control Warrior and Control Warlock into Drum Druid. So like you're tossing a coin. You know, you stay on Mech Rogue, and then the big three are like, are they going to stay or are they going to switch? and Mech Rogue found the good matchup. Mech Rogue 70% into Drum Druid, and then Control Warlock obviously favoured into Control Warrior, so they stayed on the Drum Druid, but Drum Druid didn't get there against the Control Warlock. Probably popped off a bit early for him or something, but yeah, so
I've just seen,
won a
yeah.
couple of statistical unfavourables there. But yeah, ended up being the 3-1 to the 1 Amalgam ban, which this leads us into our table after 3 rounds. Reverb, can you take us through the trio's standings after 3 rounds?
I most certainly can. Starting from the bottom.
You can start wherever you want. If you start from the bottom, you'll find my team faster.
Oh, okay. Chewy's Scorpid Adepts are unfortunately at the bottom, 0 and 3. Then we have Pog Speed Sliders, 1-2, fantastic name. Cheesemongers United at 0 and 2. Good question with an exclamation mark, sitting at 1 and 2, just outside of the top 8, along with Easy, who are 0 and 2. Easy have, or they just had their bye, or they
Yeah, so another Saucer Union had the bye in the first round, and then it was Easy, and then Cheesemongers United. Chewy's Scorpid Adepts have already got their bye for this round on the board there.
they have it this round. Yep. So, Easy sitting just outside, but probably could be in if they get a win this week with their bye. And then our top 8. In 8th is Amberflight Gaming, sitting at 1 and 2. Brown Alumni Esports in 7th at 2 and 1. The gang gets top decked 2 and 1 as well, sitting in 6th. The W Gang, who we just saw, 2 and 1, sitting in 5th. Another Sussy Union have had their bye, 1 and 1. The bye's got them there. They're sitting in 4th. The big 3, 2 and 1 in 3rd, and then our top 2, Swagoy 3-0 and 1 Amalgam Band 3-0 as well.
Yeah, so the way it works with the bye, if we had probably covered it previously, the team that's sitting bottom of the table will get the bye. But if the team that's sitting bottom has already had the bye, that'll be the next team from the bottom that hasn't had a bye. I think that's the way it's going to work. You don't get multiple byes. And then the same thing. So they when they do matchups, as it turns out this week, 1v2, 3v4, 5v6, 5v6, 7v8, 9v10, 11v12. None of those have played those matchups before, so that's fairly easy. You just do top 2, next 2, next 2, next 2, next 2. But then as the season goes on, we're invariably going to come up with matchups that have been already played out of those, so there'll be some scheduling shenanigans to make sure that that we don't have repeat matchups and things like that. So, but at this stage, it's just that way. So the teams that also with the tiebreakers there, if obviously the first thing there is you got your net wins, and then you go to your win loss summary. So that's how many matches your opponents have won or lost. Taken into account, and then there's other tiebreakers there as well. If you started with a loss at the beginning of the season, or maybe 2 losses, you're going to be playing teams further down the ladder, which means opponents are going to have more losses than the people that are playing other teams at the top of the ladder as well. So that will affect how you go on the season. So if you did start at the top, you are playing against better opponents, but if you are started at the bottom, you're playing against the other ones, but you still plenty of time to climb up the table as well. Yeah. All right. So that's trios. 3 rounds in. I'm not sure how many rounds we've got, but there should be still quite a few more. We do have our in between trios and wild segment coming up next. For the first show, we had a segment called Questions Without Notice. And then in the second show, we had Name the Card. In the first show, we also had a bit of fun with hiding Oddlaw. I think you missed it, Ray. I don't know if you saw the VOD reverb, but I had Oddlaw from Waldo hidden in every screen as it turned out. So as a throwback to that, our mini segment for this week is called "Where's Oddlaw?" So
Nah.
got ourselves a nice little "Where's Wally" on the screen here. I'll give everyone a little bit of time. See if
Wait,
they can
I gotta
find
Google which one Oddlaw was
Oddlaw.
again.
Oh my god.
Which one?
I don't
Which
know
one
where
Oddlaw
I
is?
am.
Hang on.
Oddlaw's Waldo. I know which one he is.
Oh, I
Yeah,
found myself.
he's the black and yellow Oddlaw. Waldo.
Oh wait, I didn't find myself.
Hang on. I'll just.
Yeah, you gotta show the little picture. What we're looking for. Oh god. Every time you do this, it makes me question reality a little bit.
I found him.
No way.
This guy.
I found him.
You found that one?
I found that one. I found Oddlaw.
I gotta get my eyes checked. I see many. Oh, I found him too.
You found him as well?
Oh, so cool. I think.
You think?
I definitely found
Yeah,
him.
no,
I'm certain I
I'm
found
confident. Yeah,
I'll give it another 20 seconds for the people watching at home. Yeah, so Reverb, if you hadn't watched the VOD, we got to about 2/3 of the way through the show, and that's when I revealed to Nubs and Oddlaw that I had, in fact, hidden an Oddlaw in every screen to that point.
That's fantastic. I love that.
All right, can you tell us where is Oddlaw?
He is near the bluish monster thing eating the boat. He's just near that section of the boat between some sailors.
Like Patches the pirate, I am also hanging out on a boat.
Here he is.
Fighting some monsters.
He's about there. There he is.
There I am.
Fantastic.
Right
Good
where
hiding.
I need to be. Right in the front lines.
Are you in charge now?
I am in charge.
Excellent. All right. On that note, we're going to jump into Wild Series of Wild and Outback. There's Oddlaw. In the Outback.
There I am. I'm everywhere.
All right, so we're going to kick it off with our Wild Player of the Week for round 2. Oddlaw, if you can tell us who Player of the Week is for round 2.
Yeah, absolutely. So, stepping into the juggernaut that is F12 Viridian may seem a little imposing, and the pressure to maintain the highest standards set for making the final season out. Mortal Wombat has taken it in his stride, securing yet another win for his team this week, giving him a 2-0 record in Wild Series and taking over as the new number 1 seed. Congratulations and best of luck for the remainder of the season. Wow.
And that nomination came from me.
The big mash himself.
Yep. 2-0 for Mortal Wombat, just stepping into F2L and just going straight from the 5 to the 1 in 2 weeks. That's how it's done.
Yeah, it is how it's done. That's awesome.
Yeah, well done. And hopefully, perfect season, he can retire from Wild like everybody else has. I'm just kidding. No.
Yes, we're all on the way out.
No, Wild's completely rejuvenated now. We've got the new cards.
Brought everyone back. Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's brought me back. I've been playing a lot of
You've
Disco.
been loving it?
Yeah.
Been loving getting salty over Discard Warlock. Been making me really happy.
But no, the Tony Jords have been a little frustrating as a disco player. I haven't accused anybody of animation cheating though. If anyone knows the Twitter drama, There's been a little bit of accusations flying around,
Is
but
that going on now?
yeah.
I just
I
started playing Tony
did.
Druid like an hour ago. It's yeah.
I don't play much Wild, and even I heard about the drama on my Twitter. It came up.
Wow.
Yeah. I don't play a lot of those APM heavy decks, but I know people that do, and I've watched them stream, and you can easily get through your Tony Druid.
Yeah. It's not as hard as like I thought. The same as everyone else. Like the animations were too much, and after I started playing it, I realized how muscle memory you can make the turns because you basically know what every card's going to do.
Yeah,
And when that's the case, it's actually not super difficult to do. Um,
and you're just counting
but
how many
it's
cards are left in your deck as you're going as well. So you're counting how many
yeah,
cards you got
100%.
because you don't want to like
Yeah.
overdraw three or something
No, if you're
if you're
spamming, but
low
you can
in
actually just
health.
do it at a really consistent pace. If you start from the start of the turn, it's very doable. It gets a bit trickier if you're trying to do like 60 damage, I reckon. Like you have to do more like duplicating naturalizers and solars and all this kind of stuff, and then maybe it gets a bit dicey. But it's very doable. I hate the deck and then started playing it and realized why people play it, and then
That's a
it's
lot of
like
fun to do OTKs.
yeah, it's super fun. It's really obnoxious and a disgusting deck, but I think it's kind of like when the meta shifts a certain way, like brings out Discard Warlock, brings out you know um Frog Shaman, like these decks that take a bit of time to get going but then really destroy you. Kind of elicits people playing this kind of Tony Druid and stuff because there's less disruption in the meta.
Yeah, it can brick as well, so that it does have that sort of percentage of bricks if you don't get those mana restoring
Yeah,
cards or
the mana restore cards. If you pop off too early and you can't like refresh your mana, you can definitely brick as well.
yeah. All right, we're going to move along to our wild feature lineup for round two, and who have I got?
Me.
Yeah, Reverb. Can you take us through our wild round two feature lineup?
Whoa. This is very new to me, but it looks like. Nah, I don't know what that shaman is. Oh, it's even shaman. Why is there an ETC?
You
Okay,
don't know
there's
what
an
that even
You were
shaman.
confused by all the one
I saw the
cost
ETC.
cards.
Look, I don't want to be that guy. Don't put ETC in your decks. There's an even shaman. It's running ETC. Uh, there's a mech paladin. Glad to see that's still around. Gotta love all the new mech cards. They're busted. So's Crusader Aura. Crusader Aura is a broken card. Disco Warlock that we know and love. That 2-mana location, it's wild in Twist. It's even more wild in Wild. And Mech Rogue had no idea this was a thing in Wild. That's cool to see. I mean, I guess it's busted in standard every now and then, so why not run the better mechs? Oh, and it's lasagnas. Okay, that's a bit more context. These are all aggro decks. Lasagna likes aggro. You didn't hear that from me. Okay, yeah, so explains the low curve kind of stuff here. And definitely the Disco Lock. That is like the prime aggro deck of the format to my knowledge.
Yeah, I mean, ETC in the even shaman, it can give you some options. Maybe if you're expecting certain decks or there's certain decks that are reasonably strong in a conquest meta, it can be helpful. It's only a single card. They've probably replaced like it's the other tech slot other than Cult Neophyte, I guess. So like one
Yeah.
Neo, one ETC. Might just depend what
In
they're expecting,
in
I guess.
in Conquest, it is probably better than I give it credit for.
On
I
on ladder,
just
no, don't worry about it on
don't
ladder.
don't run it on ladder.
No, not unless you're in like a high legend pocket matter or something.
Yeah, I've definitely done it before. Like ETC goes in and out of even shaman for me, even though it's on paper bad. Just because, say you're playing a bay where all you see is like Tony Druid and like questline druid or something, then you put in the shard, you put in the loatheb, you put in
Yeah.
ashen elemental, something like that, and you will have a better time against those like three people you're playing in high legend. It's
I
very
do
much something you only do in that situation there.
I do like the fact that they're all one cost cards though. So we're going for I drop BTC on 4, and on the same turn I can play something. So you're playing even Shaman against Mech Rogue, and they've developed a big minion on board. I can
Just
you know
shard
I
it
can
and
I can shard it and buy
yeah.
myself another turn that they can't attack with that minion. That lightning bolt might be
Okay.
that extra reach that you need.
It's
But yeah,
actually kind of an old list for the even shaman. Like I know a lot of people went to the Golganeth and one axe or no axe and totally totems and all this kind of thing, but he's kind of stuck with the old school cult neophyte to, stop give some spell disruption, and might be a budget option from memory. Lasagna is like very much a budget player, so it could be something like that. But it's pretty interesting to see actually.
all right, we'll move along to our Wild match this round. So there's 3 matches played in Wild each week. I'm going to try not to cover the same teams we covered the round before. So the one match that didn't feature either of those teams was my match. Um, so, Outlaw, would you like to run us through the matchup between Avoid Punitive Measures and Worgen Greases?
Would I like to run through the matchup where your team won against Walking Greases, Nasha? Sure thing. Let's take a look. So, Stinzy in the 1 seed, Maxi, Slight, Rebob, and MTG. Stinzy, Maxi, Rebob, and MTG all getting wins. Slight dropping the ball, but that's all right. You guys had the bye week one?
We had the bye week one, yeah.
Yeah. Um, Looking at the list, it's kind of surprising to see not that much discard Warlock on either side. Um, Pretty reminiscent of the first week of Wild in terms of the questline druid, Met Paladin, that kind of thing coming out. Um, Looks like it was kind of a pretty smooth week for you guys. Like to see some of the interesting decks brought. I love the XLHL LPG Mage from EKs. It's a hilarious name. Curious to see what's in it. I'm wondering if it has the package with the Ash Tongue and the 5 mana the Flame Lance that's now 25 damage to a minion. That was something I was
That's
thinking about recently.
hilarious.
I don't know if it's running that, but I was thinking about that the other day. I was like, you can do, this we OTK you could do like Enchanter and double the damage of minions, and then do 50 damage in LPG Mage from
How
hand.
much wait, how much mana would that be? Ash Tongue's 1 mana, isn't it?
So everything, all the minions would be 1 mana. So it'd be
Oh,
like,
because you LPG'd them.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So you do like
Yeah.
Silas, Ashtong, Enchanter, that's 3 mana, and then Flame Lance,
I
5 mana.
I
So
know
it'd
what
be
I'm playing after the show.
right 8 mana OTK sometimes. Like
That's
I was
funny.
thinking about it recently. I was like, maybe that's a thing. I don't know if that's what he's putting in that list. That would be hilarious. Um, and yeah, generally across the board looks like just solid stuff from APM, like solid decks brought, probably good bands across the board. I like Mech Paladin bands because Mech Paladin can scam the hell out of everything. So really solid stuff. And yeah, solidifying you guys as a threat, um, despite the buy kind of mean like people didn't really know, uh, or maybe they forgot about the fact that there's this super stacked APM team sitting in there. But you guys definitely had a good win to kind of present yourself on the standings. So yeah, good
Yeah.
stuff all around.
With the lineups, I think Stinzy and Rebob played before the patch early in the week. So they got their wins
Ah.
in before then. Slight brought Disco, and he won with Disco in game one, and then he played 3 games of Mech Paladin and did not find Mech Warper in any of those 3 games.
Nice. I
So
love when that
kind of
happens.
low rolled 3 games. Um, He looked like he might get up against the Beast Hunter, but then Beast Hunter had discounted Shadehound into Shadehound for the clear. So
Right.
things happen.
Is what it is.
Just wasn't the week. Sometimes it just happens to you. You don't find the cards. So, but yeah, it's a good win for us to start the season. Um, Reverb, if you want to run us through the table after 2 rounds of Wild.
I
Noting
can
noting the
now.
noting the player of the PPW because we've got the buys in
That's what I
there.
was about to
We've
ask. The
got the buys in
PPW
there.
is what I have to look at. So, as you can see, the rankings are how they are. A Past Monkey and Sleepyhead Shakers are at the top with 33 points and F2L 28 just behind them, and Walking Grease in fourth 21. Avoid Punitive Measures 20, World Checker 17, and Wild THL for next 14. But if we glance over to the PPW column, you can see that Avoid Punitive Measures have 20 points. So they are, based on that measure, the best team. Bone Mashers team is the one to beat. World Shakers are just behind them in 17, and then it runs from top to bottom from there with a Placid Monkey, Sleepyhead, F12, Worgen, and THL Fanatics.
Yeah. Yeah. So we're looking at the averages, points per week. That's how it works. But I must say, a Placid Monkey getting wins over F12 Ridian and Sleepyhead Shakers in the first 2 weeks puts you guys in very good stead, Oddlaw.
Yeah,
You can see that average opponent strength of 19.5.
insane opponent strength.
You've
Yeah.
played the two of the top teams from the
Yeah,
last few seasons or the last two champions. Yeah, two good, really good wins for you guys to start the season. And also points on the board probably better than points not on the board so far. Like we've had the bye, but we'll see how we go when we start playing the teams that are high up on the ladder with games played. Alrighty, I think that's just about all we've got. So we've covered off trios, we've covered off wild. Did I have a checkout question? I didn't have a checkout question for the end of the show, so I'll have to think of something. Okay. We'll go with Twist. Is it? Do either of you guys been playing Twist at all?
I've played a bit of Twist.
I have not played it on the new Twist. I played the old Twist.
What?
I'm a bit scarred, but I'm curious to try it. So I'm
All
looking
right.
forward to hearing about it.
Question for Reva. What are the decks to play in Twist? If we're going to help out Oddlaw out, if we're going to help Oddlaw out into playing a little bit of Twist, what are the decks
Yes.
you recommend? What's the go?
Do you want to win or do you want to have fun?
Come on. We want to have
Both.
fun.
We
Both.
want to have
Oh,
fun. I
yeah, we want to win.
Okay.
Sorry, yeah.
So the format for those that don't know, Jade Rogue is crazy strong, uh, but uh, people have kind of like people have been playing different kind of warrior decks. I've seen this tempo warrior kind of list thing pop up, and apparently it does really well. But at the same time, people have also started to put like a small Cthulhu package in the Jade Rogue decks because the 9 mana guy became 6 mana like assassinate on a stick that
Oh
he
my
buffs your
God.
eye stalk, and the eye
I've just
stalk is crazy strong. Some of the buffs are like insane. Like Disco's also really good in Twist. Tiny Knight of Evil gaining 2/2 is incredibly silly, and that location just makes you turbo through your deck like it was in standard today, and you're playing like a legacy format. So those are like the three kind of really good ones. Hear me out. It might not win every game. I really like any Finn Paladin. I loved it when it was a thing, and you can kind of brew up some different lists. 3 mana Colosseum goes hard. and just lets you clear stuff. So I really like Anyfin. It probably isn't the best, but it is also Anyfin Paladin, so you should probably give it a try.
I love it. I just realized that Blade of Cthulhu, which is like one of my favorite cards of all time, which is a bit of a throwback to our favorite card segment we did a while ago, got 3 mana taken off it.
Yeah, yeah.
So
It had 6 mana, no condition at all. You just drop it and target something, it pops it.
so I think I know what I'm gonna play in Twist because I love that card. But
You should.
also anything, I'm assuming they're running Finja because that's in the
Yeah,
format.
Finge is back.
Ooh, I love
Dude,
Finja.
I admit it. The first thing I actually thought of, I wanted to play, if anyone remembers this mildly obscure reference, at the very end of Mean Streets coming into Ungoro, some madmen started cooking up what people refer to as water aggro rogue, where you would
Oh
run
my god, I love that deck.
Argent Horse Rider and like some Stealth Panthers and stuff, and you would
Ooh,
run the Stealth Sensei, the Buffet. It was the coolest deck ever,
I love
and
that
it
deck.
was based. It was just because the stealth stuff did damage, pirates did damage, and so did Murlocs with Finja, and it was such a cool deck. I don't think it's good, even with like 1 mana Cold Blood and stuff. I think there's just like you get hurt by Patches not having charge and War Leader no longer giving 1 health. But if you want some nostalgia, just put the old list back together. It should win you a game or two. It was awesome back in the day.
Yeah, Water Rogue is awesome. I remember I played Water Aggro Druid as a throwback. Like
Yeah, I
a
remember that as well.
year and a half ago, I was running this list with like brooms and Finja and charges, just trying to throw back to Water Rogue, which is like it was actually like in like pro play and stuff. It was one of the better decks in the meta. It was
Yeah,
really good, really really good. Ah, nostalgia.
I love Finja. Please make a modern version of Finja
Give it
in
Rush.
like,
That's all it
yeah,
needs. Give it Rush. That'd be awesome.
do it.
Yeah, I think
Do
if
it
it had
now.
Rush, you might see a bit of play in Wild.
Yeah,
Just
and like two less mana.
two less mana. Well, a lot of cards need two less mana.
Yeah,
They've,
As
you know,
proven
they've
by Cthulhu now being an 8 drop.
yeah,
yeah.
they've
Apparently,
they've buffed a few cards for this set. So hopefully, we'll see as they rotate the format and sort of bring different sets in. We'll see a few more buffs, and over time, we'll sort of get a lot more buffs to different sets. Be good to see. I've been playing the a bit of warrior myself. I was gonna play the Jade Rogue, and then I realized I'm about 6,600 dust short of that deck. Um, having
I've crafted an embarrassing amount of legendaries on day one to play decks because I was so happy to play an old format like this.
I've got the dust for it. I just don't want to invest the dust that much dust into one deck. I'll start with something else, and then
you looked at Aya and you're like, do I really need Aya?
yeah,
I
that
still
is one of the
had my IR.
that is one of the cards. I because I'd started playing when the game first started, and I played for a while, like or close to a year, and then I had a heap of cards, and then I didn't play for a little bit because at that time I was still raiding World of Warcraft and didn't really have time to do both. So I played it a little bit, thought it was okay, and sort of went away for it. And then when I came back to get into playing, I was trying to be a bit more free to play, so I dusted all my old cards and basically just started playing with two classes. So I like got all the hunter and mage cards and just played hunter and
Yeah,
mage for like a year and a half. But that was
it's
also
relatable.
when Quest Mage was about, and then Recruit Hunter, like with Recruit Hunter, with then they had like the eggs and the Death Rattle, the early Death Rattle package, and the eggs, and then you had your Recruit top end. So they were a lot of fun.
Ah,
But then yeah, all my old cards are gone. So like Aya and all of those, I haven't gone back and had any need to go back and craft any of those until now. So we'll see. It'll gradually get there.
I don't want to think about all the like legendaries I've dusted and then recrafted because I wanted to play something. I reckon I've lost at least like 30 or 40,000. No, probably not. Probably like 20,000 dust doing that.
Yeah,
It's
but
like,
I think there'd be a lot
yeah,
of
it's
people in the same
rough.
boat.
Yeah, it's so rough. That's what happens when you play Wild, right? Like, card randomly gets good. You're like, oh, I dusted that because it was not relevant at the time and I needed the dust. And then that you do that for a couple of years and you realize just how much you're losing out.
Yeah.
It's like, it's rough.
Alrighty, brings us to the end of our show for this week. If you would like to have your match streamed on Twitch, we have shows on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday nights. Hit up the Stream Match Requests channel in the THL Discord, and Saku or Wild9 will be able to help you out. Playing your match on stream gets you ticket in the draw for some packs at the end of the season. Also, don't forget to tune in to Hearth Center at 9 p.m. Eastern tonight, and Out of Your League at 9 a.m. Eastern on Saturday. Our other shows, and there will be random blog posts popping up here and there. Diamond's got his captain's interview blogs going at the moment, and Righteous Jammies has their deck blog, which we looked at Nice Jewish Owl's Warrior in the first blog post. So looking forward to reading more blog posts as well. Reverb, did you have any final comments before we go?
Go play Twist and play the fun old decks.
Fair. Odler, any final words this week?
Yeah, I got similar. Go craft Finja in Golden and head into Twist and go play Water Rogue and then live in the glory days of like 2017. You'll have a great time.
Sounds good. All right, I'm going to end the stream and jump on and play some Twist. I don't know about everyone else, but that sounds like a good plan.
With a golden Finja.
With the golden Finja.
I'm not making any promises about Golden Finja. Not at all. All right, good night, everyone. We'll be back next week to cover more Wild and Trios. Good night.
Good night.
Good night.